coming up this week on the Digital Lifestyle Show 932. Gary's back. It's been a few weeks since we did a full show, so we've got lots to talk about. New builds of Windows 11 with some new features which are really interesting. Got some new tech news, EV news, and lots more. So let's get straight to Gary. Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
It's been a while, actually.
It has, yeah. It's been a few weeks now, hasn't it? It's just been
it has, yeah.
One thing after another, I think.
Yeah, so last week I couldn't record because I was painting in here, and I'd finished painting, but none of the stuff was back in, so nothing was working. So I had to plug it all in. So it's it's all done. You can't really see a lot of difference, but it's all nice and clean, and everything's been taken out and put back in. Still cables everywhere. I have got a lot of cable ties to do jobs with cable ties, but the first job was to get everything patched back in. I mean, I could label everything, but I decided not to. I just thought, no, I'll do it and wire it in as it's needed, which was quite good because I ended up with less wires. I ended up with spare wires at the end of it, so which is always a good thing, and everything's working. So glad to get that up and running. The other thing that I have got since we last talked, I updated it when I did the show on my own last week, the other week, is the Eero.
Yes. Yeah, I did see you mentioned that. So still going well? Yeah,
it seems to be going well. It's certainly more reliable than the old router that I had, so I don't have to keep rebooting it. It doesn't. The main thing is all the Sonos devices stay on. Everything stays on now, and I think, like as you mentioned, you get the nice app with the with all the the users on there. I've allocated devices to each user, so I don't need the parental controls anymore. But it would have been good in the past. You could just you can pick a user, and then you could just pause that user. So if you allocate all the devices to the user, so I've got my phones on here and my laptops and whatever. So if you have a child, you could just put all that child's devices and then hit pause, which was very handy because I used to have to reboot routers, and I used to have 2 subnets. I remember, so one for the kids. But this can be done bit more with more control, and I think probably nowadays it's probably quite important to be able to do that. Bedtimes, pause of Wi-Fi, it makes a lot of sense. So it doesn't when they're in the 20s, but it makes it when they're younger. But also it's nice because you can see all the devices on there, you can see the bandwidth, you can pause individual devices. So if you think, what's that, if you don't know what it is, you can pause it, you can block it. That kind of thing. Like you mentioned, if you're trying to do anything too advanced, it does want to charge you £10 a month for a subscription service. But because I don't need all that parental control stuff, the basic works without any issues. So it was interesting to see it. So I've got one downstairs, which is at the other end of the house where the fibre comes in, and I've put the second one up here. And actually, the one upstairs has got 29 devices on, and the one downstairs only got 16. So they're congregating upstairs. But when I first put it in, you could see it learning. When the upstairs one had like one device on it for a while, and then gradually they sort of migrated over. So so obviously useful to have the 2 in there because they wouldn't connect to it otherwise. So, but I don't notice it. If you take the laptop from here now, if I went downstairs, it would switch over, but you wouldn't notice it change over. So I don't see it drop or anything like that. So it's been pretty good. It's pretty reliable so far, I think.
So you went for the Wi-Fi 5 ones, didn't you?
Yeah.
And I know there's an offer on at the moment on the Pro Mesh Wi-Fi 5 ones for $59.99 for a single pack, which is not bad for the Pro version. So it's definitely a lot cheaper than the Wi-Fi 7 version. I don't know if you've seen the Max Wi-Fi 7
one. Yeah.
Well, a single Wi-Fi 7 Eero device is £600.
Wow.
Which seems a lot of money for something which it's not a lot better lot better than the current Wi-Fi 6 stuff. So it's some price inflation there. I guess it will come down over time, but that seems to be pricey. I mean, Wi-Fi 5 is fine for you. As I said to you before, I think full Wi-Fi 5 would be fine for your environment. The 6E works really well here for getting out to the office. I was trying to look at whether I can actually do a bit more tweaking on the layout here, because I've still got a mix between TP-Link deco devices and the Eero. So the house now is virtually all Eero. Out to here is Eero, and then out to the garage is actually over a TP-Link deco link. Because basically I ran out of Eeros. And they're more pricey, and I've got had the decos and it works, so there wasn't any really reason to use it. But having looked at the congestion lately, I think I'm getting a lot of congestion between the decos and the Eeros, so I think I might actually get better performance if I actually get rid of the decos. And the other thing which I find incredibly frustrating with the decos is you can buy 4 units the same, and they'll all have different firmware, because they'll all be different versions.
Right, yeah.
And only one of the firmware gets updated with all the new features. So I've got 6 deco devices, and only 4 of them have actually got the new features on them. And the other 2 haven't been, which is really frustrating. It's one of the reasons I moved over to the Eero in the first place, because I was getting very frustrated with this whole thing. That you can't get consistency there.
Yeah, but I could say the performance seems pretty good so far. I've had a couple of times it dropped off. The one up here, it just sort of went red light on it, and then a minute later it came back on. The lighting indicator is quite good, because every now and again I do get the issue with the actual Sky fiber needing to be reset. So not the actual router, the Sky router, but the actual fiber, the BT OpenReach box, and you have to power it and power it back on. So, but straight away it comes up with a red light on the Eero, so there's no point investigating the Wi-Fi. That's okay. The red light showing that it's not getting the connection, so I know where straight to go to. So it's good. Actually, the other advantage I found as well is you can add additional admins other than yourself. So I've added Jack onto it, so because he's the other IT guy, so in the house now. So yeah, so if I'm away and something needs doing, a device needs blocking or whatever, or checking, he can do it from his phone now. So the only downside I would say is that there's no browser interface. It's all doing it on the phone. But yeah, that's the way these things are nowadays.
Yeah, I'm not sure your Eeros are, but one definite thing on my Eeros, which is quite interesting, is they're also Thread edge routers. So Thread is the technology that Nest used for their thermostats, but is now part of the Matter standard. So the new Matter Start Home standard, a lot of the devices coming out that are edge based, are Thread based, and I didn't actually have a Thread router anywhere, and suddenly realised that the Eero has got this, and you can actually then use it as an edge router. So any device which wants to contact a Matter device over Thread, you can tell it to contact it through the Thread router, and it will find it. I did some testing on that the other day. That works really well with Eeros, I have to say. It's very good. And then, of course, the other thing with the Eero is you can use an Echo device as a extender. If you've got more modern Echo devices, and I'm finding that quite useful as well. I've done that in a couple of rooms where there were a little bit less signal. So it's very good, very powerful tooling. As you said, the subscription's a bit of a pain for some of the stuff, and if you had a younger family and you wanted a lot of the parental control stuff, then it gets quite pricey quite quickly. But as you say, if you want to manually manage that and control just by devices, that's actually relatively easy and still within three tier.
Yeah. So far I've been pleased with it. It's certainly saved me a lot of grief. So yeah, I've been quite happy with that. So very, very pleased with that.
Cool.
Right, what else have we got for this week? Oh, we did get we've had a couple of builds. Actually, one that was quite interesting, which I can show off, is we had a new dev build, which was 23619 last week, and that had quite a nice, interesting new feature. So I can share my screen. So the video actually. So in this 23619, once you set up mobile integration, there's a little component that you get in settings, and once you've got that, you can see it on the video. If you take a screenshot or a photo on your phone, just like that, you get a little dialog pop up from. It's not even using the your phone or whatever it was called, phone link as it's called now. It actually says via mobile devices, and that's because there's a new integration piece in settings that it downloads, and it opens the picture or screenshot in the snipping tool.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is great for, especially if you wanted to, you're doing a blog post or something, and you want to get that screenshot. So you take the screenshot on your phone, and then it pops up with the dialog box. You click on it, it's on the clipboard, and you can paste it into your blog post or whatever. Or if you get a photo and you want to, highlight something, you can open it in clipboard and in the snipping tool, and then highlight something and copy and paste and send that off in your email. So you see this is an extra component here in mobile devices. It was actually on the builds a couple of weeks ago. They introduced that. There's a little manage devices button, and in there you can just click on that, and you can manage the devices that are connected to your PC, and that's how you do that integration. So I wonder if there's other things coming to the this mobile managed devices or mobile devices thing. So it's an improved integration between Windows and the OS that's beyond phone link. So maybe that will bring more stuff in the future, but it replaces some other features from sort of sharing pictures and things like that. So yeah, quite a nice little
nice feature.
That. Yeah. Especially you're doing technical documents or whatever, or you're just taking a photo and you want to mark it up first and then send it out or whatever. But it's great for doing sort of blog posts and maybe drawing diagrams and things like that. So that was introduced in 23619. There wasn't a huge amount of changes in 23619 other than that, but I thought that was a really nice improvement in there. We didn't get a canary build last week, so we just had that one build. But I quite like that. So yeah, that's good to see. We did get a beta build, but there was nothing significant in that. So there was nothing really to talk about in that one. The other thing that I did post last week, because we need to get around for some time, is sort of 3 months in review with the Surface Go 4. So the video's up on our YouTube channel on that one. So I've been using this for a while now, so I thought I'd get around to posting some videos or posting a video how I found it. And as I've mentioned on the show before, it's actually a great device doing exactly what I want it to do, especially on meetings and things like that. I take notes on it and traveling, and it's powerful enough to do things beyond the tablet as well, which is quite good. So I've actually got the Korg software installed on there, so I've got all the virtual synths on there. So I've got the Op6 one, which is the F1 one, and there's a drum machine one, and actually they work really well with the touchscreen because you can use the touch to control the dials as well in there. So it's a nice little portable synth. I'll turn my motion sensor. Thought it was got out of the room. Yeah, so it's a nice little portable rig, but yeah, it works really well. So I've been really impressed with that. So I'm very happy with that Surface.
Two things then. While we're talking about surfaces, I guess we should mention that congratulations were in order in new Surface MVP.
Oh yes, yeah, that was really good. Yeah, so I was really sad that the Windows Insider program went away, but really pleased to get the Surface MVP. So I'm looking forward to getting into that community and seeing what I can get involved in there, and and see whether we can discuss things with the Surface team and all that. So that'd be really great because so I'm very pleased about that. So it's good to be part of that of a community. I think it's kind of a shame the Insider program's went away, but at least the Surface is probably the most close to the Windows group as you can probably get from a client side, consumer side. So that's good.
So what you, I don't know if you even see this actually, but what you need to avoid your lights going off is one of them.
Oh yes, you did talk about that. Yeah, and I've got this one, but I'm not. This one's not. You talk about that one because I haven't got this one working so well yet. That was a link.
The link one, which I want to say. This is actually proved to be really good. So this is a cheap Zigbee based sensor. It's another Chinese import. I think that would have been around about £20 mark at one point. but yeah, it's works on the Toya Smart app, or if you've got Zigbee Hub, but it also works with Smart Things, which is why I've got it set up with a couple of edge drive customized edge drivers out there, which allow you to set things like the distance it triggers from, and it works really well. It's USB plugged in. I've actually got up my head over here at the moment, and it detects all the time. I mean, my lights are now on it, so you can see it's not turning them off, even though I'm just sitting still. And it will tell. I mean, it doesn't tell me at the moment there is present. I mean, I am present, and I'm breathing. And you can adjust things like you can trigger it so it only works on big movements. So it only triggers when it sees movement. So it's like a standard movement detector, or you can trigger it on heartbeat and breathing, which is obviously what it's doing when I'm sitting still. Now, the issue I do have with it is it detects presence when my blinds close.
Right. Yeah.
So it thinks the blinds are something breathing, I think. So we're trying to figure that one out and how I can adjust the range on it to do it, because you can do so like the sense depth on it. And this is using sort of similar technology, waves technology, as a lot of these other presence sensors I've mentioned before. It's not as clever as the Aqara one I've mentioned, which had the software issues, but seems to be getting better now. Which can detect, has software which shows you multiple people in the same room. But you can set zones up with it, and you can set some quite nice features out with it. So yeah, I'm impressed with it so far.
Yeah, that looks quite good. And the one that I was still using the Hive one, actually it does detect the presence, and the reason why it turned it off then, because I've got it set back on the shelf, so it doesn't turn on all the time when I'm in the room during the day. Actually, and I still really need to figure out, that's the key to it, is I only want the light to come on at night when there's presence, and not during the day, because I keep triggering it during the day, and I've not got that Alexa sort of routine set up yet. So that's
and the other thing about this is it's got a luminance sensor in as well, which
yeah,
is quite
that's
useful.
exactly what you need. Yeah, if you want the combination of both of them, don't you?
Yeah, it works really well. Excuse me. And of course, it's because it's USB powered, there's no sort of battery usage issues.
Yeah.
So on the
yeah, I did get the Link one working. I've got the temperature sensor working. So the motion sensor I've just plugged in, but it's not come online yet. But the temperature sensor is quite good. So it's showing the room temperature and all that, and that's USB as well. So no good for, say, the greenhouse where there's no power, but it's fine for in here. But I haven't set any routines up with it yet, because there's nothing really I need to do on this, because this is just part of the central heating, so I don't need to turn the radiator on and off. I suppose what I could do is get one of those smart devices for controlling the radiator, so that I only have it, because I don't work at home every day. So perhaps if I put it on a schedule, so it would turn the radiator off. But it's a small room with a small radiator, so it's not really a major issue. It's complicating it for the sake of it, really. So. Yeah, so maybe I don't need to do that one, but they are quite good, these sensors. I think if I can get the motion sensor one working, I think I'm going to try and do that in combination with the daylight time or something like that.
Yeah, it'd be good.
So maybe I can get Alexa routine doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of my favorite routines still is the blind one I got, which is using the angle of the sun and the light to actually work out when the blinds need to drop, and that's done on a virtual candle, and that's been really it's just worked perfectly.
Yeah.
The next thing I'm trying to work out is closing my main door blind in the office, because obviously once it's down, I've got to push it up to get out the door. But the times when I want it down, and times I don't want it down, it's just sort of like trying to work that one out.
Yeah.
If I can use the presence sensor to work out when I stand up and start to walk that way, so it actually opens the blind, that would be quite a good concept, I think.
Yeah.
I might see if I can do something along those lines.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It is quite fun playing around with this kind of thing. Now, we talked about sort of new feature from Windows. I thought we'd do a quick update on Windows 11, Windows 12, or whatever it seems to be. But what we do know is looking increasingly likely that there's going to be a Windows 11 24H2. A few different references to that seen bobbing around. We've not actually seen any builds or anything. It's just a few references to it. I think Dell mentioned it on somewhere as well. So it's likely that we'll get a second half update to Windows 11. So at the end of last year, there was sort of rumours that it would be called Windows 12, but now perhaps there's a bit going the other way now, saying that it'll just be a 24H2 update to Windows 11, and maybe they will brand it with something like AI update. Do you remember we had the creators update? We had a couple of things like that, didn't we? So maybe it'll be more AI focused with more AI integration. And I'm guessing where it would be useful is if Windows did things like it knows when you're recording a Teams call, when you're on a Teams call and you've got, I always split my monitor this way, or maybe it learns, some machine learning of your programs, or even if it's just when you're in the office, you always have the monitor docked, or some, maybe there's some kind of things like that, or you can just use the command line, to tell it to do things a bit more than it can do at the moment. Maybe that's where the AI integration will become here. But I guess it'd be more machine learning and offering to do things for you based on some usage patterns. So that would be good. But there does seem to be rumors around that some of these functions were reliant on the hardware.
Yes.
One was that there would be a minimum of 16 gig of RAM, which kind of makes sense, I suppose. If you're going to add a lot of extra overhead for the whatever the AI materials are, but also whether there's some specific processors that need that will need to get shipped with those. So maybe an extra chip or something, an AI processor chip or something. So it could be that those are going into new Surface devices as well. So maybe we'll see the rumored Surface Pro 10 and Surface Laptop 6 later this year. And they will have this AI chip, and they'll be the first AI-equipped PCs on the market, because we know that's the Microsoft's buzzword at the moment, isn't it? So everything, well, they'll call it Copilot, won't they? Enabled or something like that. But yeah, they'll be the world's first AI-ready laptops. Could be the Surface. I mean, it makes sense to do the Surface brand because that's what the Surface is for. So it'll certainly be interesting to see a Surface Pro 10 with ARM chip and AI capabilities. I am also hearing, as good news, is that there may be a consumer-focused Surface Go 4. Not the difference between the one the one I've got and a future one, but yeah, that may be coming later this year. So maybe there'll be so maybe that will be an updated hardware version, or it'll just be the same version shipping with new version of Windows and Windows 11 Home or something like that. But so there's definitely lots going on. Like I said, there's no I haven't had any stuff. It might be an MVP, Surface MVP, but certainly they're not going to tell anything.
Yeah.
Like new products, that's always very tightly kept secrets, and they don't often leak out. But yeah, that's what the rumors are anyway. So it makes sense. Surface event this year to talk, and these Surface devices to be the forefront of whatever Microsoft choose with the integration. So we may see some of these features in the Windows Insider program, but they'll probably keep that stuff for a big announcement, won't they? All the AI stuff. So and then it'll be ready for testing. So it'd be interesting to see that. We're already starting to see some of these features creep in, aren't we? This, like mentioned, that photo thing, and lots of little things come together that maybe that will all be part of it. Going on totally different. Regular listeners will know I'm a big fan of my Korg ModWave, and it's actually in a world where things cross over. Is I got on the beta program for the ModWave, so I had to do the whole NDA thing and everything. But the skills that I've got from doing many years of beta testing with Microsoft have actually come into very good use. So it was quite interesting. So if you remember, the ModWave is the thing that's actually a Raspberry Pi compute engine under the hood.
Mm-hmm.
And so Korg added some new features, and it was quite good to see a 2-year-old device get a load of new features, like a software upgrade. So there was things like a lot of people asked for free running LFOs, which probably means not much to most people, but it's the LFO is low frequency oscillator, and you can use for all sorts of effects. And one of the things that they've added is one that just keeps running, and you can create sort of, the acid house type running filter type sounds. Well, it can do all sorts of stuff like that, but it was really good to be on the beta program. So the release is out now, so all people with the Modwaves will get this update, and I have got a video with all the changes on there. So I've done quite a lot of sound packs for it now, and I've had the most engagement for some time now through those. So it's been pretty good doing those, and getting a lot of good feedback from those. It's big, but it's almost like doing insider build videos, but just on a synth. So all those many insider build videos have been quite useful. But it was great to see, there is often with instrument manufacturers, you get, they release them, and that's it. And then they're on to the next instrument, and you don't get any upgrades. But this is just quite an active developer community, as in communications with the developers from Korg R&D in the US that were doing that. So yeah, it was nice to be on the beta program. And in fact, they just announced a whole load of stuff. I think it's the big music tech show it's called NAMM, I think. It's the one in Los Angeles this weekend.
Massive music, yeah.
And they announced a load of stuff, including some rack versions of the synths, or Raspberry powered synths. So they've got 3 Raspberry Pi powered synths: the Op6, the Modwave, and the WaveState. And they're releasing them as 19-inch rack versions as well. So you'll be familiar with the rack mount from your D110 type size. So that's the rack thing. So it's essentially the same unit but in a rack. And but they've also updated on a couple of them the processors as well. So the new compute modules, although they don't specifically talk about the details, but they've doubled the amount of notes you can have in polyphony. So it's because it's got the new compute modules. So yeah, a lot of interesting things coming on there. So but it's great. It's how to see all these things crossed over, and firmware updates, and you have to do the firmware updates in the way that you would do the on a Raspberry Pi as well. So I noticed in the fail, if the device completely dies and you lose connection with it, there is a recovery mode, which is very much like a recovery mode of a Raspberry Pi compute module. So there you can see what the rack version looks like as opposed to the keyboard, and you can have multiples of them. All these are Raspberry Pi compute powered ones with Korg's audio interface and software. They make very nice devices. There was one other device I did want to show you. I'm not sure I've got it on here, and they've just announced the recreation of a 1970 synth, a PS3000 or something like that, but it's a proper recreation of the 70s one, and I think it's going to be in the thousands, because it's not I'll have to find a link for this. I can't show you on my screen now. I've lost the link. But it's not a digital recreation. They're actually remaking the 1970 whatever synth with its thousands of components, build to order. I think it's going to cost about 15k if you want one. But it's amazing to see that there must be enough demand that people are wanting this kind of stuff. So it's very interesting to see that there's this stuff is all still going on. So you've got all the modern stuff being powered by a Raspberry Pi, but they're also making recreations back, with all the circuits and everything intricate. They're not chips. They're actually the original designs in the 70s designs. So yeah, quite. It's funny how, especially with music tech, it's both ways. It's modern stuff and old stuff as well. So I thought that was, but I won't be buying one at 15 grand or whatever. Now, changing tracks again, I wanted to go on to some EV news. Before I mention that, I did actually change my car. I didn't go for an EV though. Sorry. So maybe next time
Next time.
Yeah, so I've got another petrol car, but I did consider it, but the pricing didn't quite work out for me this time. But maybe next time. But yeah, so what's the latest news in the EV world?
Well, not totally EV related, but certainly car related. I was test driving a new EV this week, and it was driving me crazy with alerting me on speed limits. Because it was beeping every time the speed limit changed. And this is all to do with the intelligent speed assistance regulations, which the European Parliament's brought in, and we've adopted as well. And it kind of makes sense because manufacturers will need to do it all European wide. And basically that means that cars have had sort of speed limit recognition for quite a while now. And you could it's been something you could turn on if you wanted to, and it would warn you if you went over the speed limit, or as you approach a new speed limit. But you've always been able to override it, or not even have it turned on. But with these new regulations, that it's turned on by default every time you start the car. So if you override it, it would come back on. And this is more about how the manufacturers have gone about implementing it rather than anything else, because the regulations don't actually say you need a beep or a bong when you go over the speed limit. It just says you have to be notified, and there's several ways you can be notified, including haptic feedback and things like that, which would be a lot nicer. But it seems that virtually all the manufacturers have gone to the same pits, same seller to get their technology, and they all bomb when they get over the limit. And it was driving me crazy driving this car. Not because they're going over the limit, because it's keeping very much in the limits, but it was the fact it went bong every time the limit changed, and it was like this. Yeah, you got used to it after a while, but even the first few times it made you sort of jump as it happened. What's going on here?
And they've got to be careful about too many notifications. I mean, you just ignore all of them,
yes,
and then you could miss a critical one.
Yes, that's absolutely the right thing. And also, it's things like the tolerance is very, very low. So you start following the car in front of you, which it's within. I mean, those sort of speed things come up on the roads and tell you you're doing 28 miles an hour. And there's one point when I was driving in, and I hadn't looked at the speedo, but I knew I was following the car in front, and the speed limit thing as I'd gone into the speed limit said I was doing 24 miles an hour, and it started beeping, bonging at me because the car thought it was doing 30, and it was like okay, this is. And I was obviously within the speed limit, but it's a bit frustrating when it does that, and it does need to be slightly better, I think.
Because mine does warn you, but it's just the speed is on the dash on the display. It doesn't alert you with it. There's probably, I think there is an option to switch it on, but like you said, it's off. And
But any cars which are in this new, so if they've been introduced in this new model year, which goes into 24, then they've got to have these turned on by default. So new models basically coming forward. So if you're getting an older model still this year, you probably won't be affected by this. But any new models will have it turned on. And it's just a little. I just hope they actually pick up the regulations and actually look at them properly, because they don't have to do it. They don't have to do the
thing. I mean, they can even warn you on the dash, couldn't it, with the sign or something like that. Yeah, it says they should read them properly and then implement the best way. Yeah, there's nothing worse than fatigue, isn't it? Alert fatigue, because it's like notifications on your phone. If you get too many, then you just ignore them, don't you? And you tend to miss them. So I think that makes sense that they need to look at that. But so even if you turn it off, does it turn it back on when you get back in the car the next time?
Yes.
So you're stuck with it. Unless they introduce some. But then his legislation doesn't allow you to turn it back off. They're not, the manufacturers give them the option.
Yeah. And as I said, when it gets the speed limit wrong, which is as it did earlier, then it's really frustrating. And they do recognise signs wrong. I mean, I remember the other day I was on my car actually recognised the speed limit on one of our parkways is 200 miles an hour. Which I think it read off the back of a truck, but that's 200. But yeah, it's sort of, he gets it wrong. It really gets it wrong.
Yeah, I think that when it gets it wrong, I must admit mine doesn't ever get it wrong. I don't think, but I think it's using GPS rather than recognition. So I guess if the speed limit changes, then it's at risk of being out of date. I suppose if you're driving, although I think when I was driving through Wales last year, it did show 20 in the new 20 zones. So maybe it has some map update or something like that. So I'm not quite sure how it picks those up on mine, but it does seem to be right most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is good. But yeah, it's a bit of fatigue issue with those. One thing. There was a lot of stories. I suppose these come from the anti-EV area, but when we had a lot of cold weather recently, and there were reports of Teslas being frozen in car parks and not charging and everything that. So these were scare stories, I presume, and sort of edge cases.
Well, yeah, scare edge cases and scare stories, but there was some. There was a problem with the chargers not working very well in the cold weather. It wasn't actually the cars; it was the chargers. And this may have been down to some cost cutting, which was done on producing the charges. But I mean, the facts aren't necessarily out there, and it wasn't. I mean, I think there was some false reporting. It was tested superchargers, which was the fault. There might have been some actually other chargers in issue, but. So I think there's some truth in the story that some of the chargers weren't working as well in the cold weather, and they don't work as well in the cold weather. But it wasn't the cars. The cars are quite reliable. In fact, tend to be a little bit more reliable than petrol cars are in very very cold weather. Yeah, there's definitely some scare stories about that, but there's a lot of fun out there. But that also does mean you can get some very good deals on second-hand EVs at the moment because of the fact that people aren't buying EVs. So swings and roundabouts, I guess.
Yeah, I think all the chip shortage stuff is kind of done now, isn't it? So I think we've seen a lot of machines going sort of the availability of cars, devices, and everything else now. That seems to not be an issue anymore. Yeah, which is good, because I think that was one of the things that Korg was saying, and that's why I think they've managed to announce a slew of devices this year, because the chip shortage isn't there now. Yeah. So do you find that when you get the cold weather, does that reduce your range significantly?
It does, not significantly though. I mean, I'd probably lose 20-30 miles of range overall, even on the really cold weather.
But that's the same as, maybe almost the same as on a petrol car. You put the heaters on, and the heated seats and everything else. People
don't notice it so much in petrol cars, I guess.
Yeah,
because you just really fill up when you get petrol, but you do range does go down.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things with EVs. People are far more conscious of the range of the vehicle than they would be in a petrol car. Incorrectly in a lot of cases. Now we're getting longer and longer range of EVs. Range has never been an issue for me.
No. No, it's not, as it now, but we are seeing longer range vehicles being announced all the time, though, aren't we? Especially from some of these Chinese manufacturers. Yeah.
Few 700, 800 mile cars coming out very short. I mean, it's feasible now to actually build a 1,000 mile plus car. Whether you want to pay the money for it, I don't know, but it's feasible to build one.
Yeah. And I think as a CES, there was a few car announcements, right? Sony and some other people collaborating on cars. Yeah. Other than that, the cars, and there was some display technology, a bit of smart home stuff. I didn't see a huge amount of other stuff. I think Microsoft had a blog post of their partners at CES, but there wasn't a huge amount from there.
I think the most significant thing, and it's one of those things that people say, "Oh, what's the point of that?" was the transparent TVs.
Yeah, I thought that was quite a good idea, actually. Yeah.
Well, transparent displays like that, the possibilities are endless for those. I mean, if you imagine your car windscreen made out of one of these displays, and then all your whole control structure becomes your head-up display, and you can certainly do your proper AR then on that. Talking about which, I did actually, one announcement which was snuck on the radar was one of the car manufacturers. I think it was BMW, but it might have been Mercedes. I can't remember exactly which one it was. We're talking about putting AR glasses in the car and doing away with the dashboard.
Right, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Getting that balance of distraction and
yeah. Well, I guess if you have glasses like where guys, you can actually reduce the distraction because it's your head up all the time, and you just put things in front of you, and where you're looking, you get the information. I mean, it did seem, from what I saw of it, it seemed quite a good implementation. The only problem I can see of it is people like myself who wear glasses all the time, and how you actually handle that. And I know a lot of these AR glasses you can get prescription lenses for, but I wouldn't want to have to get prescription lenses for every car I got.
No, definitely. Yeah. And then you've got things like reflections and things like that. But I suppose you get used to, or you're used to it with your driving glasses anyway. But yeah, it gets AR glasses work in a lot of scenarios, but in a car, I guess it's a little bit more difficult in terms of safety and everything else. So it becomes a little bit more critical. Get a HoloLens. The initial HoloLens. Yeah. We did. So I think the Apple's VR headsets on sale now, AR headset. So I don't know how they're in the hands of any users yet, but they're on the way. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes as well. Whether it's just a niche or whether eventually it comes down, and we'll have to see. I'm not quite sure yet. I've actually, my VR headset's got it back in the loft now because it's kind of, just doesn't get used. So, which is a shame, but different people have different uses. But for me, the initial excitement has sort of worn off now. Right. I found that link I wanted to share as well. So, this is the PS 3300. That Korg are remaking. So it's based off the one that was made in 1977, all analog components, and they recreated the whole thing. So no virtual things in here, no Raspberry Pis running in the background. This is just a lot of electronics. If you want one, they will make you one. So I imagine this is quite expensive. But they're incredibly expensive if you try to eBay one, look, or Reverb or whatever, you 100,000 or 10,000 or something like that, 20,000, I don't know. They're incredibly rare. So yeah. Anyway, it's interesting to see, you get products like this, and then you've got, at the same time they're getting products with the Raspberry Pi chips in. That's the music industry music tech industry is quite interesting from that. It's one thing we don't get in the computer industry. You don't get people recreating a 2000 to HP TC 1100 recreated. It's we don't get that. We get the virtual ones, I suppose, inside your PC, but not the same lust of the old hardware. Maybe that will come. I suppose it does for vintage computer fans with keeping the Spectrums and TI 99s and everything going. So maybe there is that, but you wouldn't use them necessarily in a production environment, whereas musicians do covet old kit and do use them. So it's that's where it's slightly different. Well, it's been great to catch up again. We shall be back with our normal schedules. If any listeners have any suggestions for any guests you would like to see on the show or any topics, you can let me know in thislifestyle.com. I am planning some guests. I'm hoping to get some from different areas as well. So as ever, it's always great trying to coordinate people's times, but we'll do it. So Gary, where can we find you?
You can find me at Garry WMA on all the usual social media platforms.
Yes, and I'm at iStixon on all the platforms, but you probably find most of the interaction now on YouTube, so everything seems to have centered around there at the moment. All my free sound packs are available as well, if you've got a mod wave or other synths are on the download site on thislifestyle.com. I've got quite a few on there now. Great, well, we'll be back same time, same place, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.